welcome back to the Application Insider channel. Today I've got a really great interview to share with you. I spoke with Debra Wein, who is the director of the Wellness Workdays Dietetic Internship. Now, every time I put out suggestions or put out a question for suggested programs that people would like to hear on the podcast, Wellness Workdays has come up, but they actually reached out to me before I could contact them. So they contacted me offering to be on the podcast when they found out I was doing director interviews. So it was so great to connect with them. One thing that I have been really impressed with as I spoke with Debra was the level of community and support that they've got for every intern in their program, as they really just make sure that every intern gets exactly what they're expecting out of the program, and that they walk away from the program when they graduate. They've got a whole set of colleagues that they have been working with in the internship and that they'll continue that connection with as they get into their career. I thought that was a really telling point about what Wellness Workdays has to offer for students. So let's get into the interview. I hope that you enjoy. All right, Debra, thank you for joining me on Application Insider. So excited to have you here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, if you wouldn't mind just getting us started with what brought you into dietetics, if you want to share your background in the field and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I was always interested in nutrition, fitness, and health, and did my undergraduate work at Cornell University, then did my combined master's in nutrition and exercise science, and just loved the whole field of nutrition, health promotion, and wellness. And then I found out you can become a registered dietitian by completing my third year at Columbia and did my internship there. So it was a really wonderful opportunity to just demonstrate knowledge in the field of dietetics. So I became an RD.
Awesome. Okay. I would love for you to describe your program, some of just the logistics, where it's located, the type of program, your emphasis, and then since you have that beautiful background, could you share what your background is of? Because I love it. I think it's so great.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll start with that then, because this is really our motivation for why you're here, why I'm here, and why we have this dietetic internship is for the students. So this was our graduating class of 2019, which was the last time pre-COVID that we could all be in one huge room in one place together. So this is our graduating class, and we always would get together. Our program has our orientation in July, so we typically would spend 3 days in Boston, and then we have our commencement also just outside of Boston in April. So this was April 2019. So wonderful opportunity to be together.
Yeah, they're standing very close together.
Now you
back then.
Yeah. And if you check out our website, you'll see more photos. Similarly, not everybody's wearing masks. This is all pre-COVID, so the old days. But as you brought up, this is the true reason why we have our dietetic internship, and really the whole history of the Wellness Workdays program I think is kind of interesting, because we were one of the first, if not the, I believe actually the first program that was not affiliated, one of the first, which was not affiliated with a hospital or a university. And for us, that was really important, because as a registered dietitian who has a real passion for sports nutrition and health promotion and worksite wellness, I really wanted to be able to find a place and a home for people who wanted to explore new and innovative, places and opportunities for RDs and dietetics. Yeah. So if we sort of flash back several years when we were starting the program, we had interns from across the U.S. coming to spend time with Wellness Workdays to talk about counseling and health promotion, disease prevention. And it struck me that we have people that are coming because they can't find these dietetic internship rotation experiences elsewhere. Yeah. So these interns were coming from everywhere. So that really inspired me to start thinking about, what experiences are available for interns and what aren't. And as our organization at Wellness Workdays grew, where we provide employee wellness programs, our interns became more and more interested in corporate wellness. Mm-hmm. So that combined with the concept of the 50% match rate really struck me. Yeah. That we had so many highly qualified prospective interns who couldn't find an internship. So those two things, the newer approaches and the idea that there was such a low, scary match rate really inspired me to start thinking, well, what can we do to help, promote the industry, promote other RDs who I know are highly qualified, really motivated, committed, who can't find a home. And thus, Wellness Workdays Dietetic Internship was born.
Awesome. So you've been there since day one.
I'm the founder, the program director. I'm the person, you'll laugh, that called what was then the American Dietetic Association. This was prior to the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics. And I called and said, I would like to find out more about how we can set up a dietetic internship program.
Yeah.
Because again, other than Sodexo, there was no other non-hospital or university-based program. Yeah. So we really had to petition to apply for our program. Now, fast forward 5 or 7 years, we have many other programs that are unaffiliated with university or hospital, but we were one of the first.
Wow. Okay. I didn't even realize that. That's awesome. You have built this from the ground up. That's very impressive.
Thank you. And really, the reason is, we look at these interns that, come join us every year, and we listen and we hear sort of what they're looking for. So as an example, we started our program with worksite wellness and health promotion as our primary concentration, and then heard from so many interns that they also wanted to focus on sports nutrition and entrepreneurship, nutrition communications, and marketing. So we added those two concentrations. We expanded from 20 to 95 interns because, again, we have a full staff that can handle this and that are so excited to help interns become RDs in these really, innovative areas. So it just seemed to make sense to continue to grow, to continue to innovate in these areas.
Yeah, I think, so you mentioned something that I don't know if a lot of students realize. When programs are associated with universities or hospitals, everyone who works for the internship also has other responsibilities. They are teaching classes, or they are working with patients, or, all of those other things that dietitians and professional or professors do. So are you as being a standalone dietetic internship, you've got the whole staff that's just internship.
Correct. Absolutely. They are all WWDI all the time. And that really, they've chosen this path, right? They've chosen to mentor. I mean, we look for RDs who have great, vast experience in the industry, who want to give back to students, who want to mentor. These are not people who are just like, okay, sure, if I have to do it, I'll do it. I mean, we do national searches and find just really qualified, committed, dedicated people who love this. I mean, we put out a job posting, there are many of us who love to educate and love to mentor and love to advise. So we have a whole, full team and staff who just focus on our internship.
Awesome. So my next question is, what sets your program apart from others? And I was just going to say, I feel like that would set your program apart. So what other things do you have about your program that set it apart and just really make it a good choice for students that it ends up being a good fit for?
Yeah, great question. So one, I think, is our concentrations, right? Because I feel like you'll clearly get all the experience you need in clinical and food service, community, but now you get to really focus, roughly 240 hours or, 6 weeks, et cetera, in an area that you're just so passionate about. So to be able to spend 6 weeks with a professional sports team, actually some of our graduates, our alums who are working in the field of sports nutrition, who now host our interns, you might get to spend 4 out of 5 of your rotations there, do everything but your clinical work with the Utah Jazz or the Boston Celtics or the Washington football team, or, I could go on, Notre Dame, Duke, Clemson. We have, so many, Kansas State, so many just fantastic alums who want to give back to the program. So I think one is the concentration. I think that's really unique and that's new because, again, when I was, going back, looking for my internship, it was really very limited in the choices I could make. It was, clinical or slightly less clinical, a little bit more community oriented. So to be able to really focus with your passion and set yourself up for your career, that's, one takeaway. I think another huge differentiator is that our focus is truly and honestly on the intern. we don't come from the place where you are so lucky to be matched with us. That's not how we approach our everyday. We really think of this as a partnership. We feel honored that our students have chosen Wellness Workdays, and we want to help them throughout their program and then beyond. So we're developing a community, a strong alumni network. It's not that backwards where you are so lucky you chose one of our 8 spots, you know.
Yeah.
And then that's why I think our interns want to give back to their community and then those that follow in their shoes.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like it's a real culture that you're nurturing, not only within the internship itself, but your grads are taking that out there with them. They're walking away with that.
Absolutely. If you check out our social media, you'll hear, you know, from their own perspectives, what they loved about the program. And they talk a lot about that. You know, even when we had to pivot with COVID-19, I mean, within weeks, like I mentioned earlier, we had an online orientation or commencement just to, you know, make it, I mean, we had no choice but to do that. You know, but we made it interactive and really focused on the intern and how he or she was feeling about, you know, this sort of new environment and this new culture. And then fast forward, we developed a simulated clinical experience or rotation, which is, and I can't say this out loud because this is going, you know, to public, to YouTube, but it may even be a stronger experience than you might get on site because it's focused and it's systematic and it's, you know, that learning with simulated experiences, and we have some online tools that we're using to make it real lifelike and case studies. But it's a real strong approach to the hands-on approach to clinical that you can't compare that to the haphazard, like, well, who do I get to see today in a clinical setting?
Right. Awesome.
So it's an interesting way to think about it.
Necessity has definitely bred innovation, it sounds like.
100%. Absolutely.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's move a little bit into what a lot of my listeners in the Insiders Club want to hear about. Let's talk about applications. Just tell us about your match experiences, what match you participate in, how many applications you get, spots, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we take 95 interns annually.
Okay.
And we get, you know, under 300 applications. So that's, you know, 1 to 3 acceptance rate. And we just do the spring match. We did do one fall match, but we stick with just the spring match.
Okay. When you are reviewing applications, is there anything you can share with potential applicants about what you see that sets them apart for good or for not good?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, what we want the intern, you know, to know is that we're looking at the full person, right? So, you know, we give guidelines for GPA because we have to, but we want to know who you are, you know, as a person, why you're passionate about the area you've chosen, why you really want to be a part of the Wellness Workdays family. So if you don't have the perfect GPA, but you have a personal statement that can explain, you know, why your GPA was lower, but, you know, why you want to be an RD, why you really want to be a part of Wellness Workdays, that speaks to our reviewers. You know, there's no perfect application. There's not one area where I'll say there's no way we'd accept them, because we really have a diverse group of applicants who come, some with, you know, top GPAs and little experience, and then vice versa, less than optimal GPAs, but really vast and enhanced experiences, or just letters of recommendation that just, you know, wow the reviewers. So you know, we want to hear from you. We want to get to know you. We also ask that interns applying to our program do a 2-minute YouTube video.
Oh, okay.
So they can learn from you. And we ask them those 2 questions. You know, why do you want to be an RD? And then why are you choosing Wellness Workdays? So we get to see them and feel them and get a sense of who they are. And that is a great opportunity for them to share. And we're not looking for, you know, grand choreography or anything fancy.
Right.
You know, we know they're not videographers, but it really gets us to know a little bit about the person a little bit more closely.
Yeah. I think that's especially with the distance option, you know, in my program, we were a distance program and we did phone interviews, but, you know, we would never have thought of making everyone fly in for an in-person interview. So I think the YouTube video is a really great way to, like, put a face to the name, see some characteristics that will come out. Because, I mean, 2 minutes seems short, but when you're telling about yourself and your passion, then a lot of that really shines through.
100%. Yeah. And it's really a highlight for me because like you said, you don't get to necessarily, see people in person, but you get sort of a glimpse into sort of who they are and what they're about and what excites them. So that's really, it's a real highlight for me. And I think many of us on our team.
Yeah. Awesome. What is maybe a common error or mistake that you see on applications that could be easily avoided?
Yeah, great question. So I can think of two things off the bat. One is having a reviewer or letter of reference who doesn't know you well or who's not writing an excellent reference. Yeah. So my suggestion is to say to somebody, do you think you can write a strong letter of recommendation for me? Not just, can you write a letter of recommendation? Because people are brutally honest. For better, for worse. So you have the opportunity to choose wisely. So choose wisely.
Yes.
That's number one.
Advice.
Right? Then number two is when you're writing your personal statement, look it over that one last time to make sure that you don't have the incorrect name of the program.
Have you gotten some?
And we see that a lot still. I can't say a lot, but we see it enough. So that, and just, maybe take a step back from your whole application before you hit submit, look it over from top to bottom, look at that personal statement. Does it match the philosophy of the program? Because I feel like you have a better opportunity to match with your program if your philosophies are aligned. So make sure there are no grammatical errors, no typos, and you have the correct name of the internship you're applying for on your personal statement when you submit it.
Yes. Great piece of advice.
I hope so.
Okay, since you are a distance program, a really big question that always comes up with that is preceptors. So are applicants required to find preceptors? What's the timeline for that? And do you offer resources to them?
Great questions. So applicants are not required to choose their preceptors prior to or when they submit their application. Okay. We suggest that they start to do that. It strengthens their application. So, we would typically say, look and try to identify some of the preceptors who you will likely work with. And we do have resources on our website and how to go about doing that, and links to sort of databases, because there are several databases now available, including Eat Right has one, but there are a couple of other ones available. So we have our own database, extensive database with obviously thousands of preceptors, but we can't open that up until we match with students. Because if I were to say, oh, call so-and-so and give that to 10 people who are applying, that poor RD. So once you match with us, we'll help you very closely to make sure that you get, matched and find preceptors. But what I want to just remind people is, hello, COVID, right? Like we're going through, I believe it's 2022, where you are going to continue to be able to do these simulated experiences. So we have, like I mentioned earlier, a really incredible clinical simulated rotation experience. So you don't even need to find your clinical preceptor, and that's usually the hardest one. So it's not required. We suggest you find some. On the application, you can say whether you've outreached to any, if it's confirmed or not. So even if you've reached out to a sports dietitian or a community RD or somebody, you can let us know on the application. But again, now with COVID, it's that much easier.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I can add to that too, before we move on, because I feel like that's part of, and maybe you're getting there, but like the whole concept of a distance program, and as well as anybody else, it's kind of scary because people think that it's a distance program, so I have to do everything on my own. But that couldn't be farther from the truth. Right. So historically, you had to find your own preceptors, but now we're saying, oh, well, just kidding. Like now with COVID, it's really much simpler to find those, places, and we can help you anyway. But all of the other aspects of the program are completely taken care of by our program. So for instance, we develop all the homeworks and projects and assignments, exam prep. We give all of our interns the Gene Inman course isn't that nice?
That's great.
Right? So it's not, as if you really have more work to do at all. Distance really just means that you're set apart from your, from wherever your program is situated. So we're based just outside of Boston, but our interns are across the US and always have been. So, I feel like our program has been able to pivot on a dime, literally, because we've been doing this forever.
Yeah.
So whereas our programs have always been distance, as I mentioned, we would get together in July for orientation, but we always had class days. So throughout the year, we've had these once a month class days where we're all together, we have interactions, we have guest speakers. So we've been doing this. So now we just converted the orientation to, to being virtual. And so it's not much different. So I feel like we have a leg up where we've easily pivoted. Preceptors should not be an issue. Location isn't an issue any longer either.
Yeah. I remember talking to a student, I think this was sometime maybe for the fall match last year, but they had been looking into distance programs and they're like, well, I'm just worried about the support I'll get. And I said, well, that's a valid concern if you are very used to face-to-face, connections with all your classes and stuff. And I said, that's actually a really great question to ask the director. If you have a concern about that, email them and say, how do you support your interns when we're all over the place? And how do you support preceptors who maybe have never had a distance intern before? And most programs, like you have said, no, there's not a program out there that's like, we just want interns. We don't actually care about them. We just want them to pay tuition. Programs are out there like, we're invested in your future. We're going to support you in this. Programs don't become distance programs without realizing that they need to offer support. And I love that you're saying how much support you guys have and that, those gaps that students might be wondering about, the program's thought about them. The program has a solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we have, several program advisors. And so we have, get set up with a mentor in our program. Then you have your own program advisor. You're in a cohort. Then we have big class days. So there's lots of interaction. We have a LinkedIn site just for our RDs and DIs. So it's a networking opportunity and support. Nice. But I always tell our advisors, we want to be there just below the level of stalking our interns. Here we are. What do you need? And I feel like this is something I talk about every orientation, exactly about the support piece. Because I say, even if you're, on site and, within distance of the same, of your program, nobody can read your mind. So you still have to say I'm struggling, or I need help, or my preceptor said X, or I'm not getting lunches, or, whatever. So we have, or something happened within your family. I mean, with everything going on now, we've done a lot more outreach with, I'm not going to list all things going on in the world of 2020, but we reach out in different regions. We reach out, one-on-one when we know things are happening. So we think of it, it's not just about the classes or the rotations that you're in. It's much bigger picture for us to make sure that interns are thriving and getting to the exam, passing it, and then thriving beyond that as well.
Awesome. I love that approach. What is something that you wish applicants either understood or did differently when applying? This might be a crossover to some of those other questions, but anything there?
So again, I just, wish they would further learn about the distance approach to know that the competencies for the clinical rotations and the community rotations, they're all the same. Food service, they're all the same amongst different programs. The competencies are competencies. So I want them to understand that there are fewer differences than there are, so there are fewer differences than they probably think, in this way. So that's one key area that I want people to really understand. And I know I said that earlier, but just understanding that it's, like you mentioned, we've prepared for everything. We couldn't just bring interns in and be like, all right, see you in June.
Right. Go figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So that to me is a really important point to just drive home, is that just because we're distance doesn't mean that you're not going to be getting all the support and everything you need to be successful.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Okay. Speaking about interns being successful, when they do start your program, they've matched, you've covered orientation, virtual or in person, whichever it turns out to be. What will help an intern be successful as they go through their rotations with you?
So do you mean from their sort of skills and abilities, or sort of what do we provide?
Maybe more what the intern brings with them, so their own skills and abilities, or perceptions, attitudes, anything like that.
Yeah, so great question. So, I feel like RDs, are a group of, high achievers and lots of leadership capabilities and passion and dedication for helping.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of the candidates that we find have these skills. I feel like, now with COVID and just everything that happens, I feel like, being, what's the word, sort of, being able to ask for help when you need it is an important thing and skill to know anytime. I
Right.
used to joke, again, during our orientations when we were in person, but now virtual, I would say, just like you wouldn't expect your significant other or, partner to read your mind, your program advisor can't read your mind.
Right.
So if you're struggling, you're having an issue, you have a question, you need to reach out. So those people that are, taking initiatives, those people that, want to forge their own path, people who, are interested in the concentrations that we're providing, because it's new, it's different, it's, we're looking for those people who really appreciate, and just because you hear no, you don't take no. You understand that there's, if you say, sorry, no, I can't accept you, on site yet. Well, okay, would you be able to do that, in the spring, or could you be my preceptor virtually? So we're looking for those people that have initiative, potentially demonstrating leadership, people who are able to ask for help and show, I guess just, asking for help when they need it.
Yeah. Well, I think along with that is a really important fact that humans go through stuff.
Yes.
And asking for help is not a bad thing, whether it's help with understanding a concept or just help being like something outside of the internship is impacting my internship experience. Like that's just how humans go. And so being able to like recognizing when you need to ask for help for whatever reason, it's just, it's necessary. So I like that you've mentioned that.
Well, and you think about, again, I mentioned COVID, you mentioned like all these, concerns with like racial inequality, all of the fires that are happening and earthquakes, and there's just, so much going on in the world. Like we can't just expect everybody to just be fine. And so, we really do have a wonderful, support group and really do try to make sure that our interns are doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. I love that. All right. So something I try to do with every episode that I put out is to give students an action item they can do today that will help them with their application, their career, their goals. So do you have anything like that you could share?
So something they could do today. So I think the best thing that they could do to sort of get matched would be to review, maybe narrow it down to X number of internships that they're interested in and dive deep into the organization and the internship and understand the philosophy and, like we're talking about, the support to see sort of where you align and what programs speak to you. Even looking at the supervised practice hours, like what the breakdown is, tells you about the focus of the program.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for a lot of sports nutrition, great, our program might be for you. If you're looking for a lot of clinical, another program with more clinical focus, more hours might be for you. So that, to me, I think helps to sort of solidify more so your alignment with the program, and I personally feel like you're, increasing your likelihood of getting chosen for that program because you match and you philosophically align with that program.
No, I think that's really great advice. Go in, find out what you can. And then how do you feel about getting questions from students by phone or email when they're looking at stuff on your website?
And we love interns to come to our open houses, email us, and we have, a special email just for WWDI. So it's WWDI at wellnessworkdays.com. And we, staff that all day because we get questions all the time.
Right.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other thing. Like you look at, email all of the programs, ask them a question. See how they respond. Do they say, oh, that it's a stupid question? Or do they, say, you can find it on the website here, but here's your answer too? How programs deal with interns, the, orderliness of the website, tells you about the program structure. So if the website makes sense, if it's easy to follow, if the links work, all of those things I think tell you about the care that's put into managing the program on a day-to-day basis. So I think you should definitely reach out to the programs and find out more. Of course, I would say peruse the website, go to an open house, a virtual open house, and then ask questions. You don't want to say like, when did your program start? Or what's your program concentration? Because that does seem like you haven't done your homework. Yeah.
Yes.
But then we'd love to hear from interns. And we love when, we do our open houses and we get, I usually do an open introduction to the program. And then I spend more time than the, open conversation answering questions, which we love. And Caitlin, our program manager, she usually does Q&A. She could be there for an extra 2 hours answering really worthwhile, just intricate, questions from prospective interns. It shows they really care and they're really interested and thinking forward about, well, if I get accepted to this program, how will this help me or how will this affect me or what can I do? So we love that.
Yeah, I agree. Those questions show that the students are kind of imagining, if I were here, what would it be like? And that's important for interns to consider because if you want to kind of know what to expect for whatever program you are applying to. So
absolutely. And that's like a little sort of, way to sort of see, again, through the website, through the open house, through the Q&A, you get a feel for how this program treat you. And I think also going online right now, there's so many resources, you can go online and hear from interns from, graduating from our program and other programs.
Yeah, I love it. All right. So where can students find Wellness Workdays? Instagram, email, website?
All of those. We're everywhere. We have our Instagram accounts. Just go to Wellness Workdays and we're on, so Instagram, we have LinkedIn, we have Twitter. What else is there? Facebook. We have a Facebook page. Awesome. Google My Business. I'm sure if you look on Reddit, you'll find great stuff about us. Anywhere. Application Insider. They'll tell you more about us.
Yes, I will. I will have links to everything in the show notes and the caption for the video.
And we do try to feature interns who are current and then what they've been doing. So you kind of see a lot about, where our interns are and where they go.
Yes, I watched, you've got a 3-minute video on your website that I watched, and I love that you had interns that were talking about their experience, talking about the support that they've gotten, and you had a list of where students have ended up, or I guess at that time dietitians have ended up working. And I live in Utah and I saw the Utah Jazz. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just they're there. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our alums, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's really helpful too for applicants to see it's nice to kind of solidify what the emphasis means when you can see where graduates from that program end up. And especially with you guys, the variety of emphases you have, you can see that they are all connected, but also add a ton of nuance and variety for students to pick from.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And like I said, we really try to develop a community so that our alums feel a sense of ownership to incoming interns. So they mentor and support, or so if somebody's moving or looking to get into a different field or change jobs, like I said, we have a LinkedIn group that's just for our Ds and DIs. And so they can say, oh, I'm moving to New York or wherever, Utah, or I'm looking to get more into this field. Anybody have any ideas, suggestions? Mm-hmm. And that's really been just very heartwarming to see that happen over the years.
Yeah, that's so cool. Okay, well, thank you so much, Debra, for coming on and telling us about Wellness Workdays. So excited to share this with the insiders that we've got watching or listening.
Thank you so much for having me. I very much enjoyed our time.
Yeah. I really love that support you've got, that when interns finish the program, they don't just have a network of preceptors, they've got a network of they're truly graduating with their colleagues, and that you're facilitating that even beyond. I love that.
Yeah. And I could tell you stories after stories of that happening where some of the DIs hiring other DIs for different jobs. And, I had one intern reach out and said, can you, I'm looking to get into this field and I want to talk to some people who do you suggest? I said, well, go to my LinkedIn page. Let me know.
Yeah.
Who do you want to meet? So then I said, great. So I introduced her. One guy was from the Utah Jazz. And I was like, and if he doesn't reach out to you, you let me know.
We will follow up.
Yeah, I'll be like you. You know, and it is a lovely family of support. And I really I feel like, you know, I've seen this happen over the last several years. It's been really wonderful.
Awesome. That's so cool. All right. Thanks again to Debra for her time and expertise telling us about Wellness Workdays. All the links to learn more about Wellness Workdays and to reach out to Debra if you've got questions are in the caption. So go ahead and check it out. Thanks, everyone.
But kudos to you for doing this application insider. I'm impressed and congratulations.
Thank you. It's been
fantastic.
It's been really interesting. I myself went through a coordinated program, so I didn't know this was like applying to internship. Really, like I knew it was a thing, but I was just like, let's apply for an internship. And now I'm like, oh, I was one of those annoying people.
Yeah, same, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's this whole process. And I'm just like, some of this should be more readily available. And I was like, I'm certainly not the only one who can tell people about application experiences. Certainly DI directors have things they can share with students as well. So thank you so much for joining me to do this.
Oh, my pleasure. But it's so nice that you're making it, you know, giving people options and support. So,
oh, well, thank you.